Welcome back, guys, to another video, and this one is a bit more podcasty style where I just go through some general information, some of my thoughts of where the current market is sitting. And when you're looking to buy in 2026, I just want to set your expectations right of what to expect and what you should be looking at in general. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is interest rate rises, right? In 2026, we are unlikely to see any more interest rate cuts. It is more than likely we're going to be holding for an extended period of time or even looking at an interest rate rise by 25 basis points. And this is off the back of what the RBA governor has said, and we should follow their advice. So, expecting anything less than a hold for interest rate cuts is not the right approach. So, if that's what you're betting on, guys, for 2026 and onwards, it's not the right mindset to have. We should really be assessing our cash flow buffers of about 1 to 3% above where the RBA cash rate sits at, and the interest rate sit at. So, you really have to understand your cash flow buffers. So when you choose to invest into Melbourne, for example, in this day and age where the yields are dropping below 4% to 3 to 2%, then you really need to ask yourself, are you hoping for an interest rate cut to help you with your cash flow? Because that's not going to happen anymore. If you're on low yields already, you are going to screw yourself a little bit here. You really need to be targeting high yielding locations with better capital growth prospects, which there are still opportunities out there. So be really smart about where you're choosing to invest, because I don't see interest rates being cut in 2026 unless things drastically change and inflation numbers drop quite a bit. But at least for the next quarter, I doubt anything like that will happen in 2026. So that's the first point I want to make about rate cuts, guys, right? Now, the next point I want to make is we are going to see sustained growth throughout most locations in 2026. Now, there's been a lot of focus on Melbourne and Victoria and regional Victoria in 2026, but what's been happening in the background very quietly is that we've seen Western Australia continue to pump extremely well. Rents are rising and yields are still pretty good over that location, but that location has doubled, tripled, and quadrupled in value in some parts. And then when we look at Queensland, it has also continued very good sustained growth over 2025, and we are likely to see more growth in 2026 despite 60-70% growth over the past 3 years. And this is simply because supply is very, very low. Interest rates are relatively low as well, and people can borrow enough money to purchase in these areas, and hence we're still seeing high investor demand, high owner occupier demand. And with the 5% deposit scheme coming along, a lot of these locations like Queensland, like Perth, like Victoria, like regional New South Wales are still going to be pumping into 2026. At least that is what I foresee. And one of our community members has liked to coin this term as like a national boom. And that is genuinely what we are experiencing at this point in time. Now, that has its pros and cons. The pros is that pretty much anywhere you look to invest into at the moment will likely yield you between 5 to 10% over 2026, and some select locations will reach 20 to 30% of growth. But after 2026, we are looking at a completely different investing environment. And the reason I say this is because it goes segue into my next point, which I think is important. And I don't think it's talked about enough. I've been seeing a lot of buyers agents posts, a lot of success stories showing properties being purchased at $800,000, $700,000 at 3 to 4% yields, or even lower sometimes, and they're claiming this as success. Now, you may get the capital growth in that short-term period, but after that, when that growth stops happening, which it eventually will because affordability levels will be stretched, what will happen then? You'll be negative 30 to 40K per year before negative gearing, or maybe negative 20K per year. And even though you might have got 150, 200K in capital growth, you're now bleeding cash. And if you're looking to sell that asset, you're going to have to factor in CGT, capital gains tax, agent cost, marketing fees, etc. And then what does your net position look like? And then you also have to factor in, okay, if I'm spending this much money, right? If I'm spending almost $20,000, what is the opportunity cost of that money in the future? Where could I have been used that money? Could that money have been used to start a business? Or is that going to impact my borrowing capacity so much that I'm not going to be able to borrow more properties unless I sell this property? And this is a very important point to make, because as we're seeing 2026 and multiple different locations across the country continue to grow in value, yields will continue to compress because rents cannot keep up and are not rising fast enough. Now, there are some locations in Perth and Queensland which are doing well, but in the broad spectrum of Australia, rents aren't rising fast enough, and that means yields will continue to compress, which means the investor part or the investor pool of smart and educated investors, I feel like will start to cool off a little bit because the numbers no longer stack up from an ideal investment and scalability perspective. So I think by the end of 2026 and the start of 2027, we're going to start to see a little bit of cool off in a number of markets where the yields no longer stack up. I think Melbourne has more to run in 2026 in terms of capital growth, but after 2026, I don't foresee it actually doing too much more. But I will reassess at the end of next year or midway through next year. But this is just sort of my early thoughts. Now, I feel like I've talked about a little bit more doom and gloom, but I'm going to go into next about what is the ideal sort of budget investment that you should be looking for. But before I do go into that, I do have a property community. We have over 300 members with people helping each other out on a daily basis, right? We have plenty of resources. We have one-to-one mentorship. We have guidance. We have advanced resources. And we have people helping each other out on every single day, talking about different locations, different investment suburbs, and different price points all throughout the year and more. There is so much value jam packed in that. And if you are also looking to take that one step further in your property investment journey, and if you're choosing to listen to this podcast, this episode, this YouTube video, then you are a serious investor looking to build long-term property wealth. I do have a property course. It is $349. I am very upfront about the cost. It is the cheapest property course out there, guys, that you guys can use. There's over 60 plus videos breaking down every single nuanced topic about property investing and helping you choose the right location. And you can go check the entire education curriculum broken down so you know exactly what you're paying for, right? It is an absolute bargain when you really think about how much value this has to offer. And then you also get 30 days access into the private community. So an instant saving there, guys, for you. So if you're serious about property investing, do this one thing, join the property course and jump into the private community, and you will gain so much information to help you on your property journey. But let's get back into the video. Now, I want to talk about sort of the ideal target investment that you should be looking for. And it's broken down into a couple of categories. Number one, to buy in good regional locations, medium-sized regional locations in the current environment right across the country, you will need about $600,000 in terms of a budget. This is across Queensland, this is across New South Wales, and across Melbourne. Some locations, some towns, you can find cheaper properties around 500K, but with regional locations with above a 60 to 70,000 population, the price point now to enter these markets for a good brick house and asset, you're looking around $600,000. You can find a fixer-upper for around 500, 400K, but good regional assets are around 600 at the moment. Now, it is still very possible to get 4.5% yields, which you should be targeting as a minimum right across different locations like Albury-Wodonga, like Dubbo, like Shepparton, like Bendigo, and definitely above or around 5% yields around Cairns, Mackay, Rockhampton, etc. Now, each of these locations have their own trade-off, but if you are an investor looking to buy in 2026, you need 600K borrowing capacity or close to that. You need about 4.5% yields and above to build a scalable property portfolio. And these are sort of the minimum requirements I would expect to buy in a medium to large size regional location for a brick house. Now, there's going to be someone on the YouTube comments being like, I bought a house a month ago for $450,000 in some town. Good on you, right? But to be honest and frank, this is what you need, 600K and 4.5% yields. And I want to say again, you can find different price points with their own trade-offs, but this is generally what it is. And when you also look at the numbers of that, 600K around 4.5% yields. So if I just drop the rent a little bit, around 4.5, you're about negative 10K per cash flow per year, and then about negative 7K after tax returns, etc. Obviously, different states like Victoria have land tax. If you don't invest in Victoria, then you have land tax, and you're in a better cash flow position, etc. So this is really important to understand your numbers before you do choose to invest. And I do think that with the modern day hype of it, all the BAs buying properties and a lot of the investor hype, everyone's quite greedy at the moment to buy as many properties as possible. I think it's really important to understand your financial position, structure it in a way where you can build a scalable portfolio over decades, not over years, over decades, right? So if you're buying poor quality assets, poor quality yielding assets, and poor regional locations, then you're going to screw yourself in the long run. It's better to buy one investment property that is a good property that yields you good, that's in a good regional location, than buying two crappy assets in the middle of nowhere, right? At the end of the day, we are still investing, and investments means there's risk. It means you can lose your money. So be smart about it, guys. And I've been seeing a lot of push by BAs these days about purchasing Melbourne units. Yes, do I think there is an argument to be made for good Melbourne units? Yes, there is. But please do not be going and buying these, high-rise tower building units that are one by ones, that are super cheap, that have a lot of competition in terms of other unit blocks in that same complex itself. Look for red brick units, look for ones that have ways to manufacture equity, and buy those sort of assets. Those are the ones you want to be targeting, guys, right? And be smart about it. And don't go just buying anything willy-nilly just because it seems undervalued, right? There are decades where Melbourne units haven't grown, in Sydney units haven't grown. There is a case to be made for certain types of units. I feel like I've talked a lot this episode and this sort of podcasty style videos, giving you my thoughts going into 2026. There is a good amount of locations you can still invest into. And if you need help choosing the right locations, jump into the private community and we will help you out and get you on track. You guys only need to be there and there for a month and we can get you a property and help you get an asset, right? Any questions, jump in the private community. Till next time, thank you very much.